Welcome back to the Drexel Sports Zone, the show where we recap all things Drexel and Philadelphia sports. I am your host, Luciano Duffy. Now, let's jump right into it. The Eagles have found themselves with a playmaker, Travis Fulgham. Now, last week, I said, don't worry if you don't know his name. Now, this week, however, Travis Fulgham is quickly becoming a household name in Eagles homes all across the country. The wide receiver hauled in 10 receptions on 13 targets for a total of 152 yards and a touchdown. These 152 yards were tough yards. Fulgham was high-pointing the ball and working on every single catch. His yards weren't inflated by some fluke touchdown. Currently, in the 2 weeks that Fulgham has been active and on the Eagles roster, he's racked up 209 yards for an average of 104.5 yards per game. These 2 games, he's already passed second-round pick J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's career stats. If he continues with this production, he will eclipse 1,000 yards receiving on the year, making him the first Eagle since Jeremy Maclin way back in 2014 did it. That is 6 years, or for Drexel student terms, more than we spend at Drexel. The Eagles ultimately lost to the Steelers 38-29, as Steelers rookie wide receiver Chase Claypool caught 7 receptions for 110 yards and 4 TDs. Those 4 TDs were most by any Steelers rookie in a game. Shout out to my girlfriend Jill, who is a Pittsburgh native and a big fan of the Steelers. Congratulations to you and to the Steelers on the win. The Eagles' defense was not able to get off the field on third down. Also, have you seen Zach Ertz? If you have, let me know, because he is nowhere to be found. Wentz is starting to turn the corner and looks like a really nice pairing with Fulgham. Even despite the loss, the 3-1 Eagles are still just a half game out of first, as the Cowboys did beat the Giants. However, in that game, the Cowboys lost their star quarterback, Dak Prescott, to a gruesome ankle injury. I hope he heals well and comes back to earn that money he deserves. In the meantime, it is the Eagles' division for the taking. They travel home to play the reigning MVP-led Ravens. If the Eagles can get healthy, snag a couple wins, they can get hot fast and be in the playoff contention in no time. Last week was draft week for the Flyers. In the first round, they selected Tyson Forster, who is an 18-year-old right wing from the Ontario Hockey League. He is an absolute sharpshooter. If the Flyers can develop him, he will be a nice piece for their future. His skating will improve with the Flyers' offseason and practice plans. He was rated as high as 16th overall as a hockey prospect, and the Flyers got him at 23rd. With their next selection, the Flyers went to the defensive side of the puck, as they selected Emil Andrea with the 54th overall pick. Andrea is a nice prospect who saw his stock fall because of his size. At just 5'8", he is undersized, but makes up for it with the rest of his game. His offensive ability and scrappy play style fits what the Flyers are lacking on defense. In the 4th round, the Flyers used 2 picks, the 116th and the 147th overall, to trade up with the Tampa Bay Lightning to select Zaydam Wisdom at 94th overall. He is another 18-year-old from Toronto. Wisdom also needs to clean up his skating and will develop alongside Forster. He has a well-rounded game and will provide more quality depth for an already loaded Flyers roster. The Flyers decide to trade up again, this time sending picks 202 and 209 to the Predators for the 135th overall pick. With this pick, the Flyers selected Elliot Destroyers. Unlike his fellow peers that were drafted with him, skating is actually a strength of Destroyers rather than a weakness. A player that doesn't have a very high ceiling, but his floor is high. He can contribute right away to the Flyers roster. With the final pick, the Flyers went with another undersized player. This time, it is Connor McLennan, who is a forward with a really nice shot. He also stands at 5'8" and fits a new age forward mold. His ceiling is high, and once he gets stronger, he can develop nicely for the Flyers. The Flyers are comfortable with their roster and have opted to get more developmental boom or bust guys in this year's draft. Now, let's see what they do once free agency opens up. It is officially Doc Rivers' era in Philadelphia. Last week, he had his opening press conference where it was his first time facing the Philly press. Rivers knows the value of load management and will assess his two superstars on a case-by-case basis. Keeping their injuries down and guys healthy will help propel the 76ers back into the playoffs. Both Embiid and Simmons have had injuries in the past. Rivers will ensure that they stay on the court as much as they can. Rivers didn't only address the superstars, however. He also praised role players such as fan favorite Matisse Thybulle and Shake Milton. He called Thybulle a NBA All-Defensive player. He also talked up Milton for his 39-point game against Rivers' former team, the Clippers. Both of these young players have the opportunity to step up big for the 76ers. Rivers also wants to tighten up accountability in the Sixers locker room as well as within the organization. This has been one of the biggest downfalls for the Sixers, as Brett Brown lost the locker room and then ultimately got swept by the Celtics. This philosophy is bigger than basketball, but will ultimately translate into more wins for the Sixers. The biggest takeaway is that Rivers is going to work with what he's got. He believes in the guys that the Sixers currently have. He is not looking for any trades or any big free agent signings. He believes he can maximize the talent that has been already underperforming. With that takeaway, the rumors of Embiid being traded to the Nets or the Sixers trying to pull off a Buddy Hield trade become increasingly unlikely. We'll see if the organization backs him up on these claims. Right now, for the Phillies, it's much of the same. They have hired an interim GM, and Roberto is still not signed to a contract. It seems like Roberto's asking price will be in the $200 million range, which is way outside of Philly's budget. He is worth all that money, but the Phillies just don't have the funds. They are looking ahead to free agency, where they hope to grab some more starting and rotational pitching help. With Roberto pretty much gone from Philly, the focus now becomes finding a new catcher and whether or not they want to re-sign Didi Gregorius or not. Catchers are hard to find, and one free agent that the Phillies might look at is Gary Sanchez. A former Yankee, Sanchez might have played his way out of New York last season. His postseason failures are a red flag for the Phillies. Didi, on the other hand, should be re-signed. In a normal year, the Phillies would just extend the qualifying offer for Gregorius. His production was high last year, and there is a chance that he would sign this offer. If he leaves, the Phillies will have to look for both a shortstop as well as a new catcher. A group of teams that have stayed lossless last week was your Drexel Dragons. Another week of canceled fall sports for the Dragons leaves them tied for first again, unbeaten. And that's all for now. I'll catch you next week.